Hey everybody, it's Hussein Kabani, your favorite broker. Today I want to make this quick video about home value. How do you basically choose an offer price? What do you think a house is worth? How do you come up with the value when you're making an offer on a property? This is going to be at a very high level, and I'm going to use some very basic examples. I don't want to get too technical with it, but if you have more questions about it, I can always answer. And I want to hear what you guys did when you guys actually bought your property. Like, did you guys look at comparable sales? Did you come up with the price? Did your agent come up with the price? Was it collaborative? How did it go? How did you come up with the price for the home that you bought? This is what I would say about homes, and personal homes especially. You can never time the market. So I hear this a lot too. Oh, should I buy now? Should I sell now? Like, yeah, of course, all valid questions, but it's really, really hard to be able to gauge the market 100% of the time. This is kind of my rules for a personal home, okay? My first rule with personal home is that you gotta like the house, of course. You gotta like the house and you gotta like the area. You gotta be like, hey, I like coming here. I like it. It works for me. It works for my family. I like the neighborhood. It's not far from my work. However, your criteria to qualify what a good home and a nice area is, you gotta be comfortable with that. I wouldn't make that too much of a sacrifice. Of course, you have to when it comes to price and everything else like that, but whenever you're pulling the trigger on something, you should be happy about it. So that's my first thing to check off. The next thing is that I'd like to say that you're gonna be there for at least 5 years, okay? I feel like with 5 years, you can almost kind of weather almost anything that happens in the market. Not always true, but I think it's a good gauge. I like to even say 10 years. Like, so if I'm trying to buy something, usually I want to hold it for 10. Doesn't mean I will if it's 3 years and I make a good profit and I have something else to do with it, I can move on with it, sure, no problem. But like, I just feel like these 5 to 10 year timeline, you're pretty safe. Like anything that happens in the market, you could weather the storm. It goes up and down. You'll be able to balance yourself out and hopefully still come out ahead. I like that time period. The other thing is that just make sure you can afford it, okay? So it's affordable for you. You're happy making those payments, and you know, for the most part, your job is stable and you're not gonna have a problem. Really, what all these things are leading to is like really holding power. I know we're talking about pricing homes and what the value is, but I think that this value, this emotional value and how you feel about the property actually does have a value to it. So it doesn't always have to be money. I think when this part is correct, then we can move on to the next part of it. The next part of it, all of this would be in a nutshell actually, is this. What you want to do is when you're looking at homes is you want to look at comparable sales. Comparable sales would be homes that have sold within that same area. I always want to keep the area as close as possible to the house that you're comparing it to. So I want to look at the closest area, the closest to that house that you're looking at, and the closest style and features to that home. When you're not in the same area, it's harder to do a comparison. If you're in the same area, but you have a little bit of a difference, like for example, you know, 3 bedroom versus 4 bedroom, 3 bath versus 4 bath, something like that, the adjustments are a little bit more simpler to make. You know, maybe the difference is, you know, $10,000 to $15,000 for a bedroom, maybe $5,000 to $10,000 for a washroom, somewhere in that range. Really what I want to look at is the closest house that I can find, and that's the most similar to that. And I don't mind making the adjustments for bedrooms, washrooms, and those type of things. Even basements, I don't mind making the adjustment for. It's just area can start to get tricky. So if you don't have anything that's very much comparable within that area, you could start to look out in area, but then you want to try to get as close as possible to the house that you're looking at, even in terms of age. So sometimes when you move areas, the age, it makes a difference as well. The other thing about moving out of areas is that we all know that, you know, you could cross one road and you could be in a completely different hood compared to where you're trying to buy. So you have to be very careful. The area could be tricky and misleading sometimes. So you have to be very careful about area when you're going outside of the area to do comparable sales with. The other thing is that what I would do is this, like sometimes we end up with like houses that have like a finished basement. Say you're looking at a property that has a finished basement and there's another property that doesn't have a finished basement, and maybe, you know, you're interested in the one that has a finished basement, but you're not sure what to exactly pay for it. What I would do is that I would try to go back and look at the comparable sales, hopefully within the same area, try to find the same example, same type of house with a finished basement and an unfinished basement. And really, if they're really alike in terms of like location and features, I would do a minus calculation between the price difference and say, hey, that could be a good number. Maybe it's $30,000 for the basement finished versus not finished. And then you kind of know what you're paying in difference between the two prices. That could be one way of looking at it. But the other way could be looking at it is saying, hey, what is it actually going to cost me to finish that basement? Is it going to cost me $30,000, $40,000 to finish that basement? And the third thing is that it always depends on the buyer, right? Does the buyer have value for it? I have some clients that will go into a basement and just want to rip the whole thing out. The layout doesn't work for them. Maybe they're in the field, like maybe they are a contractor and they're like, hey, I don't trust anyone's work. I want to like see what's behind this wall. I want to rip it apart. So whereas you may think as a seller that you have, you know, $40,000 value because your basement is finished, someone could come in and be like, you know, I don't like it, and it doesn't mean that much to to me. So it really depends on what the buyer, how many buyers are out there for a seller, and it depends on what the buyers actually, how much value they have for something like this. It's the same question like sometimes when you're buying new construction homes, you go into a planned out subdivision, sometimes they want $75,000 for a walkout basement. Is it worth it to you? To me, maybe not. You want some green space at the back. There's not going to be any houses behind you. There's open green space. Maybe that's, a $25,000 upgrade. Are you willing to pay that? Or, are you willing to pay $10,000 more for going from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom home? These are all things that, depending on what people value and how much monetary value they put onto it based on what their needs and beliefs are. It is, at the end of the day, the price is just an opinion. Sometimes I even get asked, and it just happened recently again, and it's happened before. Right now we're kind of in a hot market. We went out and saw a house in Whitby. Their listed price is $699. The house is a little bit rough. There's a little bit of chip on the kitchen cabinets. The countertop is a little bit chipped. It's a little bit of a rough house, but it's a nice house. It's about 14 years old. I did the comparable sales for the client, and it comes up around $710 to $725, and that's kind of the range I told them, like based on the sales, and then give them the comparable sales. This is what it kind of looks like it's going to be. But their feedback to me is that, well, the house is not in perfect condition, and this and this and that. But I also tell them where the market is at right now, and based on the comparable sales, I think this is the range, and that it's inclusive of what the condition is. So these people may not really think that the house is worth $710 to $725 because maybe they want to redo the kitchen because it's chipped a little bit or whatever. So to them, that house may not be worth the range that the comparable sales are going in. Maybe it's only worth the $699. But again, my point is that it's very a personal thing of how you're going to come up with the price and what you value. That in a nutshell is roughly how to value property. The main thing with the comparable sales is that I want you guys to use it as a guideline so you just don't ridiculously overpay for a house. In a market even like this, if one house next door sells for $600,000 and the next one, next week sells for $615,000, I wouldn't be surprised. And if the next one sells for $630,000, I'm still not surprised. You don't want to be the guy that saw the last sale at $600,000 and pays $700,000 for this unless it's got something crazy going on with it. But you want to use it as a guideline, the comparables. But there is a lot of variables, and it really depends on what you value at the end of the day. All right, guys. So that's house pricing, in my opinion. Again, I'd like to hear how you guys came up with the price for the home that you guys bought. Maybe you bought it from the builder. Let me know. Maybe you didn't have a choice. Builders don't really negotiate price, but let me know. I'd like to hear it. All right, guys. Until then, remember one thing: get Cabani, get sold.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold.